Good afternoon. This is Yin Yoga, and I am Clint. Today, we're going to be focusing on hips, and you'll need at least one block. You may need a towel. You possibly will need a strap, but probably not. And the way that I'd like you to start, well, you can start any way you like, but if you have tight quads, maybe you want to start in hero, which is sitting on your heels with your knees straight out in front. If that poses any issues for you, you can always take a block the width way and place that underneath your sit bones. That will be a little bit easier, but you'll still get a nice quad stretch. So whatever makes the most amount of sense to you. Or you can just sit in a regular cross-legged position, and that would be fine also. When I was talking without anybody hearing me, I had said that a number of my viewers has been the Concordia College volleyball team in Chicago, and they had some feedback from me or for me, and one of the issues was they want me to speak less. My instructor who taught me all through teacher training, Linda Kay, was an expert, and she had this method that she called MIBS, which was MIBS, and that is modifications, intensifications, benefits, and you're supposed to list those in every pose when you can, and then the S is for silence. Now, Linda never shut up. Isn't that the truth? And I think I've taken after her. So I will try extra hard today to give you a little more peace and quiet. Okay. So get into a comfortable seated position. Allow your eyes to close. Take a deep cleansing breath in through your nose and let it all out through your nose. Take another deep cleansing breath in through your nose, out through your nose, and let your breath come to its own natural rhythm, in and out through your nose. Throughout today's practice, your normal breath is all that you'll require. Notice where you're breathing into. Are you breathing deep into the bottoms of your lungs? Or into your ribs? Maybe up into the tops. It really doesn't matter. But the closer you come to your own breath, and the more you understand it, the more you'll be able to use it to your benefit. You'll use it today to help soften into positions. And as I said before I started the class, this is a hip class. So you'll be given lots of options so that you can direct the sensations and the stress to those muscles that most need your help. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, open your eyes. Come forward into table. And do a couple of cat-cows here. So on an inhale, your belly drops, your chest comes forward, your sit bones lift and separate. And then on an exhale, round your spine, tuck your tailbone under, and your chin comes towards your chest as your toenails push down into the mat. And then inhale back into cow, exhale into cat. Now the first pose that we're going to go into starts off here in table, and it is threading the needles. So the next time you come to center pause, be aware that you can use a towel if you want to bring your shoulder down onto the mat. That'll help soften and raise your shoulder up a little bit. But to start, take your right arm out to the side, and then inhale, lift that arm up. Doesn't have to be very high. And then on an exhale, thread the needle with that right wrist behind, or right hand behind the left wrist, coming all the way over onto your right shoulder. And you can use that towel to raise that shoulder up, making this a little bit easier. This is a twist of your torso. You're getting a nice inward rotation on your shoulder. And if you'd like, you can walk that left hand forward with little spider fingers and open up that left shoulder, opening up your armpit. Now in here, try to just breathe into your belly, and then as that air leaves, just sag your back. Like a sway back horse. If this is a little much for you, maybe you want to straighten your left leg out, coming up onto your toes. That will reduce the twist, will give a little bit more space for your lungs, but it won't be quite as much on your shoulders. So it's up to you to decide which way you'd like to go. Begin to deepen your breath. Bring that left hand back next to your face. And then on an inhale, straighten that left arm, lifting your chest. Retrieve your right arm, bring it out and up, twisting the opposite direction. And then bring it back down onto the mat. And do a couple more cat-cows here. This time, maybe you want to exaggerate that movement up in your shoulders. And the next time you come to center pause, the next pose is going to be dragon on the right side. So from here, lift your right foot up and back, step on the back wall. And from here, if you'd like to get a little bit of yawn, a little bit of strength, maybe you want to just bend your elbows, make a little push-up, lift your leg up into the air, and then come back up. Your dog might think that you're crazy. Maybe do that one more time. Coming back up, your leg out, and then on the next exhale, bring that right foot up alongside your right pinky. Coming into my least favorite pose, which every one of you knows, is dragon. So from here, you can walk that left knee back an inch or so. Make sure that you don't have anything, being overstressed yet. You have a lot of options here. The first is going to be high flying dragon with your hands flat on the mat. Now, if you wish, you can overstep your right knee and bring that right knee in front of your right toes. And what that will do, that will bring a lot more tension to your calf and your Achilles so that your gastrocnemius, big muscle here, and the soleus down here gets stretched. I've been doing a lot of walking and walk runs, so my legs are extra tight these days. Try dropping your hips down towards the mat. And what you're doing, your psoas on the left leg is being extended, and on your right leg it's being flexed. Try to bring your shoulder blades together and lengthen your spine. In yin yoga, you want to be able to stretch into a pose and still have your muscles soften once you are at the right place, which is your edge. Then you pause there for about a minute while your muscles begin to relax. And then you give that pose time so that your muscles soften, transferring that tension from your muscles into your fascia. And over time, that will give you more space inside your body to move. If you want to stay here, that's fine. If you'd like, you can go into low flying dragon, and there are a bunch of options for low flying dragon. But first, I'm going to suggest just walk your hands to the edge of your mat on the left. You may feel a little bit of a change in your right flexors, and you may want to walk that right foot out a little bit farther. So you're opening up your legs a bit, and then if it feels good, come down onto your elbows, or on your elbows down onto a block. And that opens up your leg. Now you can modify this a little bit more if you wish, just by rolling that hip open, coming up onto the pinky toe side of your foot. Again, just notice the difference where you feel this. It's affecting your hip flexor on the right side. Your left psoas is still engaged. And if at any time your body says stop, we're back up, do that. Be empathetic. That is something that we need here more today than we've needed in decades. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, bring your palms back to the floor. if they're not already there. Straighten up your arms. Walk your hands back towards your knee. And whenever you can, free up that right leg, bringing that right knee back to meet the left in table. And you can stay in table and make circles or figure eights with your hips, or you can curl your toes under, lift your hips up and back into downward facing dog. And walk out your dog. Stretch your hamstrings. As you do that, you're getting a little bit of relief to your psoas in your flexors. And then the next pose is going to be swan on the left side. So either you can drop your knees down to the mat, or just bring your left knee up behind your left wrist. And then bring your left foot over towards the right side of the mat. Now you don't have to have that foot parallel to the front of the mat. That leg can be bent, but take that right leg all the way back towards the back wall. Have your toenails facing down onto the mat. With your arms straight and either on your legs or on the mat, lift your chest high and drop all the weight you can into your hips, trying to get your hips down into the mat. This swan pose, you have other options. You can always go over onto your back and do a reclining swan. You can also do the 90-90 or deer pose that I've taught quite a few times recently. If the target for this pose is your left glutes, and your left hip socket. So from here, you can modify where you feel that by the placement of your knee. So if you'd like to stay here, you can. If you want to come forward and down onto your chest or close to your chest into sleeping swan, you may. If you move your left knee out to the left, you'll feel this more on the outer glute and even into your outer thigh. If you want to feel this closer to the middle of your body, you can bring that knee in line with the edge of your chest. Now your foot can be out beyond the edge of the mat, or you can bend your knee like I am, bringing that left foot down close to the center of my body. And when you do this, you'll find that the sensations, the tension has migrated. Most of the tension in my left glutes right now is right at the center of my body, just on the left side. You can reach around and feel your glutes that are being stretched. This is the pose the modification of the pose that I can get my hips closest to the mat. Right now, I am probably 1.5 inches above the mat. And I'm getting all the tension that I want. Straighten out your spine. Find a place just to drop into. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, come back up. Walk your hands back. Bring your left knee back and eventually bring both knees together in table. And again, you have the same options. You can make circles with your hips or lift your hips up and back into down dog. See whatever is best for you. And if you're in down dog, try to draw your shoulder blades together and drop your shoulders, your chest between your shoulders. And then when you're ready, lower your knees down to the mat. Do a couple of cat-cows just to bring your spine back to normal. And then come down onto one hip or the other. And bring your feet around to the front of your mat. And then hands behind your hips, come down onto your elbows, all the way down onto your back. Reach your hands up into the air, and then lower them onto the mat beyond your head, and stretch from your heels to your palms, pushing your calves into the mat. And then your then your toenails to your fingernails. Feel that nice stretch. Then bring your arms back by your side. Bring your knees up into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze. Rock a little bit from left to right. And the next pose is going to be spinal twist with cat pulling its tail. So, as you remember, for cat pulling its tail, while you're here on your back, holding your knees in, you can always bring that right heel towards your left buttock, and then reaching for it with your left hand. From here, just roll all the way over onto your right side, with your arm way out to the side. And then on an exhale, begin to roll your shoulders back towards the mat, coming into the spinal twist. Your left knee should be staying in place. You may want to grab onto it with your right hand. And then with your left hand, maybe draw that right foot back so that you're kind of arching your back and getting a twist at the same time. Now breathe into your belly. If you'd like another modification, and this is a pretty strenuous one, you can always straighten that left leg out towards the side wall, and you'll get a bit of an IT band stretch. But make sure that you don't overdo it to the point that you can no longer soften. So for instance, soften your right toes. If your foot is flexed, then those muscles are engaged. Notice your abs and your obliques. Those are your side muscles that come around that help you do this twist. Soften those. Those are the targets. Soften that left shoulder. Soften your jaw. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next exhale, release your binds. Bring your left leg back to meet the right. Roll onto your back. Bring your knees into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze and rock all the way from hip and shoulder on the left to hip and shoulder on the right. And then come all the way over onto your right side. Use your left hand to come back up. And coming all the way through table, or through seated to table, do a couple of cat cows. And if you're going to need a towel for threading the needle on the left side, make sure that's available. And the next time you come to center, pause. Bring your left hand out to the side and lift it up. And then on an exhale, thread the needle, left hand behind the right wrist, coming all the way down onto that shoulder. Your cheek comes to the mat. And then soften here. Just let that shoulder go. You have the same options as the other side. If you really want to get your right shoulder open, just walk that right hand forward. And then stay up on your tippy fingers, opening up your armpit. But if you'd like a little bit less of a twist, you can always lift that right leg up and back and put your toes down on the mat, stretching out your hamstrings. This is your practice. Do what's right for your body at this moment. Use the present to dictate your options. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next exhale, bring your right hand back next to your face. And then on an inhale, push the floor away, releasing your left arm out and up. And then return to the mat. And do a couple more cat-cows. And see how good that feels. The next time you come to center, pause. From here, preparing to go into dragon on the left side, lift that left foot up and back, placing your sole of your foot on the back wall. And again, if you want to mystify your dog, just bend your elbows. Bring your chin down towards the mat and then back up. And then when you're ready, bring that left foot on the outside of your left fingers, coming into dragon. Again, your right foot goes back, your right knee goes back an inch or so. That's all it takes. If you want to overstep this side, you can. Otherwise, keep your ankles straight. You can experiment and walk that foot out or in just a little bit. But with your palms flat on the mat, lengthen your spine. If you're overstepping and you're not getting enough tension, walk that foot back, but keep your heel on the mat, and that will increase the tension. Breathe into your inner thighs. And then begin to deepen your breath. For modifications, you have the same options that you did the last time. You can walk that left foot out farther. If you were overstepping, maybe you want to walk the foot forward a bit and then out. Bring your hands over towards the right side of your mat. If you wish, that's not a necessity. And then, if you want, you can always bend your elbows, coming down onto the mat or onto blocks into low-flying dragon. And feel where the tension in your hip flexors is. And if it becomes too much, back up. If you can't soften the muscles, then the tension is never transferred into your fascia. So all you're going to do is strengthen your muscles. But the object of yin is to give yourself more flexibility and more mobility so that you have a better range of motion. So listen to what your muscles are doing. Urge them to release, to give in to gravity. If you want to just reach up and feel the muscles of your thighs and what they're doing, that would probably be a good use of your time. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, push the floor away, straightening your arms. Walk your hands back towards your hips. And when you can, release that left foot back towards the right. Coming into table, another few cat-cows. Notice how different these cat-cows feel. Maybe if you've been doing down dogs, you want to keep your knees down on the mat this time. Maybe making circles one way and then the other. Maybe making figure eights. Whatever is best for your body. And if you were up and down dog, carefully bring your knees back to earth. And the next pose is swan on the right. So again, you have all the options. You can go onto your back for reclining swan. But from here, bring your right knee up behind your right wrist. Your right foot comes off towards the towards the left. And then walk your left knee back towards the back end of the mat, leaving your fingernails or your toenails on the mat. Walk your hands closer to your hips, maybe resting them on your thigh and your foot, lifting your collarbones high, getting a little bit of a back bend here as your weight drops through your hips towards the mat. You may want to just reach down there and just see how much space there is. That's not important. If your hips are screaming right now, your right hip, you can always tuck a block underneath. And that will get your hips to release. And then, if you'd like to modify this and come down into sleeping swan, you have the same options. You can bring your knee to the left or to the right, if you wish. You can bend your knee a lot more, bringing your right heel in towards your body center line. Then walking your hands forward. And notice where you're feeling this in your hip. If it's in the same comfortable place that it always is, and it's not a lot of sensation, you might want to change. You might want to come back up, move that knee an inch or two one direction or the other, then come down again and see if it changes. And when you're ready, just release, submit to gravity. Pretend you're an astronaut and you're just floating. And gravity is calling you back. Notice where the sensations are and breathe into them. You should be feeling this in your right glutes. You can't feel your piriformis, but you're stretching that. That muscle ties your femur into your sacrum. And it's one of the two adductors for your thighs. Soften your shoulders. If your teeth are clenched, just loosen up. Soften your temples. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, walk your hands back towards your hips. And listen carefully. From here, just roll onto your right hip. Swing your left leg around towards the front of the mat. Bring your hands behind your hips. Stretch your heels forward. And show compassion to your hamstrings here. You might be a little bit stiff, but roll your feet from one side to another. You may want to lift a foot up or the other. You may want to do a wide-legged windshield wiper experiment. See what works for you. And then the next time you come to center pause, come down onto your elbows, and then all the way down onto your back. Stretch your legs out straight towards the front of the room. Lift your arms up towards the ceiling and then lower them down onto the mat beyond your head. And again, stretch so that you're as tall as you will ever be. And if that was with your heels and palms, then change to your toes and your fingers. You have different muscles on each side of your body, and they all have different needs. Then return your hands back down by your side. Walk your footprints up towards your sit bones. Draw your knees into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze and rock a little bit from left to right. Lengthening your spine as you do this. And then the next time you come to center pause, this will be spinal twist on the left. So if you want the cat pulling its tail variation, you can bend that left knee a little bit more, grab the left foot with your right hand, and then come all the way over onto your left side with your knees down. Maybe hold on to that left knee with your right knee with your left hand. And then on an inhale, begin your journey to arch your back and open up your chest towards the ceiling in this spinal twist. By pulling on that leg with your hand, you should be feeling a big quad stretch. And if you can't reach your foot with your hand, you can always use a strap. or just don't do the pose. It's just different. You also have the option to straighten out that right leg towards the side wall. That's not necessary, but it might feel good. And that's what this is all about. It's all about making your body feel better, finding where the tension is, working on it, and then concentrating your breath to soften those tense muscles. Your fascia covers every single muscle and every single fiber of muscles. And as you age, it shortens more than any other body part. And if you're not well hydrated, it will shorten even more so that it restricts your movement more. That's one of the reasons why you would cramp up. It's a reason why your balance might not be as good when you're dehydrated. Soften the top of your left hip. Maybe breathe down towards your lower abdomen. Relax your toes. If your eyes are open, just let your vision blur. Your eyes consume a lot of energy. And simply by closing your eyes, you can help yourself soften. Your senses are always working to protect you. And by shutting them down, your senses, that is, you can avoid that stress that's no longer meaningful in a modern life. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next exhale, release your binds. Bring your right leg back to meet the left. Roll onto your back. Straighten out your legs, straighten out your arms and stretch. Maybe wag your hips a little bit left to right. Find a good place for your sacrum. Make sure you have a block handy and bring it down close to your hips. Bring your hands back down next to your hips. Walk your feet up towards your sit bones. And you have guessed wrong, I guarantee. From here, tuck your tailbone under and lift your hips up towards the ceiling. Feel your quads engage. Pull your heels towards your shoulders. Push your knees towards the far wall and feel your hips elevate even higher. And then slowly Return your hips down to the mat. This time, grab your block. Inhale, lift your hips up. Place the block the flat way because you're not doing bridge. Place the block the flat way, the long direction from left to right, and lower your sacrum down on top of that block. Bring your hands flat on the mat. Take your right leg up with a straightish leg. Push your heel towards the ceiling. And if you're comfortable here, lift your left leg up towards the ceiling. Push both heels away. In this inversion, now if you have eye issues or blood pressure issues where you shouldn't be doing inversions, just do a bridge. But see if you can feel the blood moving in your legs. Maybe you want to point your toes. See what that does. See how different it feels in this direction, this orientation. And paddle your feet, maybe together or opposite. Maybe widen your toes so that your feet are half again as wide. You can stay here, or maybe you want to just bring your legs out into a straddle. You can bring your arms on the inside of your thighs so that the weight of your arms can passively open up your legs, helping gravity. This is a very gentle groin opener. Notice if your legs have migrated down towards the front of your mat or towards the top of your mat. And just bring your legs up so that they're balanced, so you don't have to expend any effort at all to keep them vertical. Maybe you want to lift your head an inch and tuck your chin. Maybe that will be comfortable. And if it isn't, change it. Another option here is to bring the soles of your feet together and try to get your legs right from that straddle with the soles together. So it's kind of like a flattish butterfly. Maybe that works, maybe it doesn't. Maybe you want to just reach and grab your ankles from the inside, using your forearms against your thighs. Then your legs won't want to just fall forward. Maybe if your eyes are closed, you can feel your legs opening up even more as your feet come closer to your pubic bone. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next exhale, release your bind. Lower your feet next to your sit bones. As you lift up, removing the block, feel your inner thighs and draw your knees into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze and rock from left to right. Make some circles. First one direction, and then the other. And when you're ready, release one leg to the front of the mat, and then release the other. Bring your hands back down by your sides with your palms up. Maybe you want to draw your shoulder blades underneath your chest and then lower them back down. Stretch your neck long, expanding your spine just maybe 1/8 of an inch. And then just relax back down. Take a deep cleansing breath in through your nose and let it all out through your nose. Take another deep cleansing breath in through your nose. Let it all out through your nose. And take rest. Begin to deepen your breath. Bring your awareness back into your space. Bring movement to your fingers and to your toes, to your wrists and to your ankles. Gently roll your head from left to right. making sure that there's no more tension. And then when you're ready, walk your footprints up towards your sit bones. Draw your knees into your chest. Give yourself a big squeeze. And rock again from left to right, massaging your whole spine, all the way from your sacrum up to your skull. And then come all the way over onto your right side and pause there for just a moment. And see if there's any residual stress anywhere, any tension that you're still holding. And remember that for your next class, to make sure you're able to address that. And then using the strength in your left hand, push the floor away and rise up to a seated position. Thank you for sharing your yoga practice with me this afternoon. Seems like summer has arrived again. It's over 90 degrees. Take the compassion and empathy that you practice on your mat with you wherever you go and share it with each person you meet. Namaste. My name is Clint, and this has been Yin Yoga.